Shalom and welcome to part 1 of our special series on the story of Passover. In this episode, we begin our journey by exploring the backdrop of Israel's bondage in Egypt and the miraculous birth and calling of Moshe, Moses, the chosen deliverer. As we revisit the cries of the oppressed and the rising threat of Pharaoh, we are reminded that Yahuah always hears and responds to his people's suffering. Let's go back to the beginning of a divine rescue mission. This is a story of deliverance, of Yahuah's mighty hand rescuing his people from bondage. It is a call to remember, to reflect, and to celebrate his faithfulness. From the life of Moses to the gods of Egypt, from the 10 plagues to the miraculous parting of the Red Sea, each moment is filled with divine purpose. So settle in, open your hearts, and let's journey back to the land of Egypt, where the cries of the oppressed reached the ears of the Almighty. Our story begins in ancient Egypt, hundreds of years after Joseph's rise to power. The children of Israel, once honored guests in the land, had grown into a mighty people. But a new Pharaoh arose, one who did not know Joseph. Exodus chapter 1 verses 8 to 14. Then a new king, to whom Joseph meant nothing, came to power in Egypt. Look, he said to his people, the Israelites have become far too numerous for us. Come, we must deal shrewdly with them, or they will become even more numerous and, if war breaks out, will join our enemies, fight against us and leave the country. So they put slave masters over them to oppress them with forced labor, and they built Pithom and Ramesses as store cities for Pharaoh. But the more they were oppressed, the more they multiplied and spread. So the Egyptians came to dread the Israelites and worked them ruthlessly. They made their lives bitter with harsh labor in brick and mortar, and with all kinds of work in the fields. In all their harsh labor, the Egyptians worked them ruthlessly. The Israelites were enslaved, forced into grueling labor to build Pharaoh's cities. They made bricks without straw, bent under the scorching sun, laboring endlessly to build monuments to Pharaoh's pride. Their suffering was immense, their cries unceasing. But Yahuah had not forgotten his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Pharaoh devised a plan to reduce the population of the Israelites. Exodus 1 verses 15 through 22. The king of Egypt said to the Hebrew midwives, whose names were Shiphrah and Puah, when you are helping the Hebrew women during childbirth on the delivery stool, if you see that the baby is a boy, kill him. But if it is a girl, let her live. The midwives, however, feared God and did not do what the king of Egypt had told them to do. They let the boys live. Then the king of Egypt summoned the midwives and asked them, "Why have you done this? Why have you let the boys live?" The midwives answered Pharaoh, "Hebrew women are not like Egyptian women. They are vigorous and give birth before the midwives arrive." So God was kind to the midwives, and the people increased and became even more numerous. And because the midwives feared God, He gave them families of their own. In the midst of this oppression, a child was born, a Hebrew boy named Moshe, Moses. Pharaoh, fearing the growing strength of Israel, had decreed that all Hebrew male infants be cast into the Nile. Moses' mother hid him for as long as she could. But Yahuah had a plan. Exodus 2 chapter 3 through 6. But when she could hide him no longer, she got a papyrus basket for him and coated it with tar and pitch. Then she placed the child in it and put it among the reeds along the bank of the Nile. His sister stood at a distance to see what would happen to him. Then Pharaoh's daughter went down to the Nile to bathe, and her attendants were walking along the river bank. She saw the basket among the reeds and sent her female slave to get it. She opened it and saw the baby. He was crying, and she felt sorry for him. "This is one of the Hebrew babies," she said. Exodus chapter 2 verses 7 through 10. Then his sister asked Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and get one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you?" "Yes, go," she answered. So the girl went and got the baby's mother. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this baby and nurse him for me, and I will pay you." So the woman took the baby and nursed him. When the child grew older, she took him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She named him Moses, saying, "I drew him out of the water." In a divine twist of fate, Moses was returned to his family temporarily, and later the boy that should have been killed by the Pharaoh's own decree was raised in Pharaoh's own house. Moses was not a stranger to his Hebrew heritage, but trained in the wisdom of Egypt. As fortunate as he already seemed, he was destined for a far greater purpose. Exodus chapter 2 verses 11 through 15. One day, after Moses had grown up, he went out to where his own people were and watched them at their hard labor. He saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, one of his own people. Looking this way and that and seeing no one, he killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. The next day, he went out and saw two Hebrews fighting. He asked the one in the wrong, "Why are you hitting your fellow Hebrew?" The man said, "Who made you ruler and judge over us? Are you thinking of killing me as you killed the Egyptian?" Then Moses was afraid and thought, "What I did must have become known." When Pharaoh heard of this, he tried to kill Moses, but Moses fled from Pharaoh and went to live in Midian. Exodus chapter 2 verses 16 through 25. Now, a priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came to draw water and fill the troughs to water their father's flock. Some shepherds came along and drove them away, but Moses got up and came to their rescue and watered their flock. When the girls returned to Reuel, their father, he asked them, "Why have you returned so early today?" They answered, "An Egyptian rescued us from the shepherds. He even drew water for us and watered the flock." "And where is he?" Reuel asked his daughters. "Why did you leave him? Invite him to have something to eat." Moses agreed to stay with the man, who gave his daughter Zipporah to Moses in marriage. Zipporah gave birth to a son, and Moses named him Gershom, saying, "I have become a foreigner in a foreign land." During that long period, the king of Egypt died. The Israelites groaned in their slavery and cried out, and their cry for help because of their slavery went up to God. God heard their groaning, and he remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. So God looked on the Israelites and was concerned about them. Exodus chapter 3 verses 1 through 6. Now Moses was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the far side of the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. There, the angel of the Lord appeared to him in flames of fire from within a bush. Moses saw that though the bush was on fire, it did not burn up. So Moses thought, "I will go over and see this strange sight, why the bush does not burn up." When the Lord saw that he had gone over to look, God called to him from within the bush, "Moses, Moses." And Moses said, "Here I am." "Do not come any closer," God said. "Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground." Then he said, "I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob." At this, Moses hid his face because he was afraid to look at God. Exodus chapter 3 verses 7 through 10. The Lord said, I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard them crying out because of their slave drivers, and I am concerned about their suffering. So I have come down to rescue them from the hand of the Egyptians and to bring them up out of that land, into a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, the home of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. And now the cry of the Israelites has reached me, and I have seen the way the Egyptians are oppressing them. So now go. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people the Israelites out of Egypt. Moses was a timid man, slow of speech. He had many objections. Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt? What if they do not believe me or listen to me? What should I tell them your name is? Pardon your servant, Lord. Please send someone else. Yahuah overcame each objection by giving Moses certain displays of power, a staff, and he even had his brother Aaron speak for him. After much back and forth, Moses took his family and headed to Egypt to do what would be impossible on his own. Exodus chapter 4 verses 27 through 31. The Lord said to Aaron, Go into the wilderness to meet Moses. So he met Moses at the mountain of God and kissed him. Then Moses told Aaron everything the Lord had sent him to say, and also about all the signs he had commanded him to perform. Moses and Aaron brought together all the elders of the Israelites, and Aaron told them everything the Lord had said to Moses. He also performed the signs before the people, and they believed. And when they heard that the Lord was concerned about them and had seen their misery, they bowed down and worshipped. Exodus chapter 5 verses 1 through 4. Afterward Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and said, This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. Let my people go, so that they may hold a festival to me in the wilderness. Pharaoh said, Who is the Lord that I should obey him and let Israel go? I do not know the Lord, and I will not let Israel go. Then they said, The God of the Hebrews has met with us. Now let us take a 3-day journey into the wilderness to offer sacrifices to the Lord our God, or he may strike us with plagues or with the sword. But the king of Egypt said, Moses and Aaron, why are you taking the people away from their labor? Get back to your work. Yahuah had warned Moses that Pharaoh would not let the people go. In fact, the Most High hardened Pharaoh's heart towards the Israelites each time Moses and Aaron returned. Yahuah wanted to show his mighty hand in Egypt. This showdown was about more than righting the wrongs done to the Israelites. This was also about Yahuah coming into direct opposition with the false gods of Egypt. Pharaoh, blinded by pride and the power of his gods, refused to release Israel. What followed was Yahuah's judgment upon Egypt, a series of 10 devastating plagues, each striking at the heart of their false deities. What a powerful beginning to this timeless story. We've seen how Yahuah raised up a deliverer in Moses, setting the stage for his mighty hand to be revealed. But Pharaoh's heart remains hardened, and Israel's cries grow louder. In the next episode, we'll witness Yahuah's judgment against Egypt and the battle between the Elohim of Israel and the false gods of the land. You won't want to miss it. Join me in part 2.